Hi, Kevin. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us. I know you're a busy, busy man, and I appreciate your presence here today. Thank you so much. At Safe Space, we appreciate you a lot. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Um, Allegedly busy, but it's always good to catch up with you.
Oh, nice, nice. So, Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about your professional background and the path that led you where you are today?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, but professional background. So I currently work in the project and software development space. So I head up a PMO, which is a project management organization. It's for a company called Tektronix. So we do heavy equipment calibration. So a lot of the medical devices you see, we fine tune the specifications for them. Um, and we partner with a lot of big companies like Amazon for some of their intelligence items. So I work in the software development space there. Excuse me. Run a lot of the key projects, oversight, training, governance, setting standards how we do projects. So that's kind of on the professional side. How did I get here? So started back home in Grenada, started teaching. But before that, I've always been a hustler, right? So growing up, my mom had me selling cupcake. I used to sell um, sweet potatoes. There's nothing that I haven't sold. To this day, my mom still
Okay.
sells ice cream.
Mhm.
So grew up hustling, then got into teaching, then got into banking. And then I had the fortune of coming across Dr. Roland Glean. Most people know him as Randy Glean from Guave. And he ran a Caribbean student organization in Texas. And so, one of my friends was out there and he's like, hey, man, you're one of the sharpest people I know. Have you thought about going to school? And had a conversation with Dr. Glean, went out to MSU in Texas. And then, the rest was history.
Oh, beautiful. So now that we have a little bit about you, well, not too much of a little bit, that was a lot. Now we know how you got where you're at. We're gonna get into the meat of the matter. We are talking men's mental health. June is Men's Mental Health Month, and at Safe Space, we're trying to help men understand how important it is to take care of their mental health. And I'm so happy that you were really brave enough to come on here and have this conversation with us. So, Kevin, tell us, what does mental health means to you as a man?
Man, for me, it just means, uh, creating a safe space for myself, right? And I don't use that lightly because, you guys are a safe space, but for me, making sure that my mind is solid allows me to be better everywhere else in life, right? And so because of that, I take a lot of pride in taking care of myself physically, but more importantly, taking care of myself mentally. And it's not easy, right? It's one of the hardest things, and it requires constant work. But it's something that is very important to me.
Okay, beautiful. Kevin, you expressed how important mental health is to you. And before that, you expressed to us a lot about your job. So, have you experienced any type of overwhelming feeling, stress, or anxiety in your job? And how have you navigate through that?
When have I not? I mean, I work in a very high pressure situation, right? So working with executives, there's a lot of demands. And then we work in a world where everybody wants you to go faster. So they want you to go faster with less resources, right? So you have to carry the weight of multiple people because everybody's more concerned about their bottom line versus your well-being. Now, in saying that, yes, a lot of these companies push you rigorously, but they also, it's competitive. And if you don't want that opportunity, somebody else is going to be happy to take that opportunity, right? So I face those struggles all the time. One of the things that's happened to me many times in the past is just being burnt out. Like I've been burnt out to where it's not just physical exhaustion, it's mental as well, where, you know, I'm watching the screen, I want to do something, I know what I have to do, but I just can't get there. And so I worked with a really good leader before, and she used to even see it on me before it happened. And she's like, "Hey, bro, like take a 2 days off, like relax." So in the past, that was tough to identify because then it would hit me like suddenly. But now I've gotten to the point where I can identify it because now I know the triggers. And when I see it coming, I find ways to kind of cut it off and reset myself. And so what I do now is I build downtime into my day. So even though I have a very rigorous schedule, first of all, I start my day at the gym. So wake up, pray, get ready. Most days I'm at the gym. That kind of helps me with my energy. It helps my mind, puts me in a good space. But then the other thing I do is, as much as I get busy during the day, I find like 30 to 60 minutes for myself, where it's me and a book. I have a dog. Sometimes it's just me and my dog going for a walk. But I try to take myself away from the hustle and bustle and then just kind of give myself a time to reset. And that's helped me over the long term because it's like, all right, yes, you have all these things to do, but you have to make time for yourself because God forbid something happened to you, life goes on and somebody else is going to keep the work going. So you got to make sure you take care of yourself and be present.
Evan, if I'm going to express how I feel from what you just said in local parlance, I would just say, I love that for you, bro. I love that for you. Like just taking the time off to understand your triggers, understand that if you have to take care of yourself to give the best you, and understanding that you do get burnout and a lot of things happen. And if you don't take care of yourself and you are no more, then somebody else is going to come and scoop that space up. So you first and
Yes.
everything else. Beautiful. You sound a little bit therapeutic there, like you know what's happening, you know what's going on, you know your triggers. So let me ask, have you seek mental health services before?
Well, yeah. Come on, man. I've had a therapist for the last 7 or 8 years. So one of the great things about my job is they offer 12 free sessions a year. So that basically covers me for almost the entire year. If I want additional sessions, I could pay for them. But so I do that personally. And then with my wife, a few years ago, we had a couples therapist for a few years. And that really helped us navigate some tough times, especially with things that were less to do with the marriage and more to do with our personal development, like communication skills, listening, just um, listening to understand instead of to respond, right? And so when you have a therapist, it's almost like a mediator, right? That would say, hey, all right, he's not finished making his point, let him finish, and vice versa, So you got to get your thoughts out. It forced the other person to actually listen and let you finish and not be listening to respond. And so that was a big change for us. Just going through those sessions, working through, I wouldn't say necessarily the immaturity, but just understanding that marriage is a partnership, and for it to work, you both have to be all in and understand like it's a partnership similar to like it's a business because there's a financial component, there's the love and the intimacy and all these things, but there's a lot of decisions that you guys have to be on board together with to make. And so having the right communication, the right structure will really help you there. And we couldn't get to those levels without one therapy and then two, a lot of personal work on our own reading, and developing. So one of the books that really helped us was The Five Love Languages. And then there's another one by um, Ramit Sethi called Money for Couples. So just getting into that. Another one called The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And then there's others we've worked on, but in any relationship, money is always a big thing, right? So being able to be on the same page is tough because especially ladies, when you get into budget conversations, all of a sudden you guys feel somebody like the man is trying to control you. It's like, no, we have things we're trying to achieve and we can't get there if we just, do a bunch of frivolous spending. Right. So then when you start having to be accountable to the team, it creates, different conversations. So all those are things we had to kind of work out in therapy. And it was time and money well spent because it really helped take our marriage to the next level in terms of our communication, decisions we've made, and just, understanding that ultimately this is a partnership more than anything else. So personally, it's helped me a lot. From a marriage perspective, it's helped me as well. And I still have ongoing touch points with my therapist.
This is beautiful. This is deep. You sound and you come across so wholesome and so self-aware. And I am happy that you've not only seek mental health for yourself, but you seek for your wife as well, because two comes together, you are the whole package, and alignment is key. And from listening to you, I can see that the work you have done in therapy, like you and your wife, would the space you and your wife would be in now would be beautiful alignment, understanding each other, communication, making sure that your goals are the same. Even if both of you guys are two different individual, when you come together, you know that this is our goal together, and this is what we want to do, and this is how we're gonna do it. And therapy helps. It helps. It really does help. Thank you for sharing that, Kevin.
No, before you
Mhm.
go to the next, I just want to say though, right? It helps, but you also have to be willing to do the work, right?
That's it.
It's it's one thing having a conversation, like it's just like watching motivational stuff on Instagram or TikTok. Like if you
Mhm.
don't actually take action, it doesn't work. And
That's it.
so it's you have to work, then you have to track it, then you have to do the follow-ups, and you have to be willing to be accountable. And that's where the challenge is at times, right? It's easy to say this person is lacking that or that person has that
Yeah.
flaw, but the harder part is to look at yourself and say,
Mhm.
can I do better? I'm lacking here, or this is something I could do better. And so when you realize those things, and I think for me, the key thing that therapy has helped me with is realizing that there's a lot of work I have to do on me. And then every time I do the work on me, for me, and I'm better for me, then I can be better for those around me. So just wanted to make sure like I don't want to sell it like happy go lucky, like, oh, you just do this and everything is great.
Mhm.
Like there's still a lot of work to do and you have to be willing to put in the work, but it's worth it.
It is. Kevin, in my profession and professional life, several men find it hard. It's a struggle to show up, to speak, to be vulnerable, to go to therapy. Um, it's like if I'm going to use safe space as an example, 2% of my clients are men. The other 98 are females. If I give a 50% for Mother's Day, in 2 days, it's filled. It's already capped. I can't take more. If I do a 50% for Father's Day, I have zero. Zero. I have to spend more on marketing for men, but men hardly show up. So tell me, Kevin, like what advice would you give to men when it comes to mental health? Like, what can you tell them?
I think this one is a tough one, right? And the reason being is that I don't think that we're not receptive to getting help. I just
Mhm.
think it's the upbringing for a lot of us, right? So even on my hat, it says only the strong. Like for some reason, since I was a teenager, I used to say to myself, only the strong survive. And I actually have it tattooed on me, right?
Mhm.
But how we grow up is like, you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to be able to handle any situation. You have to carry the weight. And yes, that's good and it's true to some extent, but also I saw, fellas my age, but also older men around me just wither because they had all this burden they were carrying with no outlet,
Mhm.
right? And so they would just suffer silently because they had to be the provider. They had to do this. They couldn't show emotion. They had to be calm in whatever situation. And then when I started to realize the strain it was having on me, I was like, no, this is not it. Right. And that's kind of why I got into therapy. And then part of it was also my son, like in raising my son, I didn't want him to go through the same thing. So I, you know, hug my son every day. I kiss him every day and I tell him like, hey, it's okay to show emotion. Like we don't have to be this gangster stuff. Like, a lot of things I say, hey, we'll figure it out together. Like, let's talk it through. Like, and we grew up with this kind of like do as I say, not as I do. But
Mhm.
I encourage him, it's open dialogue. Like, tell me what's going on. We can figure it out together. So I think it's tough for men because it's so ingrained in us to be strong and to be tough and to be the providers and to deal with everything that it's kind of hard to express that, right? That's just one. Expressing it is one. The other thing and the biggest struggle is that is actually why you should go to therapy because most of us don't feel confident sharing that information with somebody even though we think that that person is trusted because then that information may not reside with them, right? Everybody has a best friend who has a best friend and then so you may share something very confidential and then you're hearing about it. So like those things make men a little timid in speaking out, but I encourage anybody that has access to therapy, or if you have someone close that you can trust, to talk to them about it. Like I know for me, my mom, you know, if something's heavy on me and I can't get to my therapist or I don't want to talk to anyone, the first person I hit up is my mom. What her first answer is every time? I'm sure you could guess. What's the first thing she's gonna say? What's the
Go to
first thing
church, pray.
That's free. Yeah, that's exactly what she was saying. Yep. Like a couple weeks ago, something was heavy on me, and I hit her up, and she's like, "All right, let's pray,"
Mhm.
and then go by her. We pray, and then I just chill. We talk. It didn't lift right away, but just knowing I have that person, that's really cool. And then, I was able to pinpoint it, and then I was like, okay, and I was able to work through it and figure out like what had me feeling that kind of anxiousness and that heaviness. But yeah, like the thing is, it's not that a lot of men don't want an outlet; it's just how we were brought up, and so it's actually harder to unlearn a habit than to learn a new one because those habits are so ingrained in us, especially if we've carried that for 20, 30, 40 years. Like that's deeply rooted. So, you know, breaking some of those chains is really what's tough for men. But I encourage, the fellas like, hey man, if you can get a therapist, definitely speak to somebody, let it out because there's a lot that you're holding in that's silently crippling you or limiting what you can do. And if you can ease off the pressure on your mind by getting a lot of that off your mind, off your chest, it will really help you in other areas of life.
Yeah, beautiful. Just to echo on what you've elaborated on, you said that finding somebody to speak to, somebody you trust, which is very important. But a lot of the times you find somebody to speak to, somebody you trust, but a lot of people are only gonna give you advice or motivate you based on their experience, based on what they know. When you go to therapy, when you go to the professional, they are trained. They will help you to find the tools and the resources needed, tailored, person centered for you and what you are going through. So, yes, finding an outlet is beautiful. Having a support system is beautiful. But getting to the professional, will help. It will take you places. It will give you that aha moment like, this is why I'm triggered. This is why this is happening to me that way. And it really help you navigate through life with a bit more ease. It helps you be a better person. It helps you grow. It helps you communicate better. It helps you regulate yourself. And therapy, I can't don't stress it. And it's not because I'm stressing it because it's in my field. I'm stressing it because I've been to therapy. I'm an individual outside of being a therapist, and life gets heavy and life gets hard. But I've been because what like I I've been for several reasons. I've been because I want to be an example to my clients, an example to my nieces, an example to my friends, and I also can't carry all this emotional baggage. Like I need to let it out. I need an outlet myself. So therapy, man, I will say like therapy is like good food on a Sunday.
Yeah, and something coming back to your question, something I thought about because I was having a conversation with one of my homeboys a couple weeks ago, and one of the reasons he doesn't want to do therapy because I suggested it to him is he said he started. and then he felt like certain memories that he had buried, they resurfaced. And that's what I was talking about, the work. Like that part of it is also very
Mhm.
scary when you have to, you think you've gotten over something or a situation, and now you have to deal with it, right? Because as part of the therapy, you want to understand the root cause.
Mhm.
You want to figure out, like, how can you, like, properly, you know, put this away and get the closure you need to move on. And sometimes that can be scary for a lot of people. And that's something that kind of hinders them because, yes, you've suppressed it and you've pushed it in a corner, but it will always haunt you until you, like, truly do the work and, put that to rest.
Definitely. As you on that topic, a lot of men love going to the gym and think once I exercise, once I lift some weight, because obviously, yes, exercising, it helps boost your happy hormones, right? So you feel like I'm good again, I can keep going. But I know you are a gym guru and I know you've been to therapy. So Kevin, tell us like the difference. Tell us how therapy helps. Tell us how gym helps. Tell us how they go hand in hand. Tell us about it.
Um, yeah, so a lot of times when I go to the gym, I really say it's for my mental health, right? And one of the reasons I'm very strategic with how I gym. My gym sessions are mainly in the morning, and it's because I don't want to start my day groggy. So it gives me that energy boost. It gets my mind clear. Also, from a work and a business perspective, some of my best ideas come at the gym. And I think
Mhm.
it's because I'm not thinking about work at that time. So normally when those ideas come, I just make a quick note on my phone or I record a voice note for myself. And that way during the day, I can replay it or revisit those notes and, get to it. But I think they're both important. The gym is more, release the tension. It's more of the immediate gratification, right? Yes, it's
Mhm.
a long-term process, but you have that feeling when you're finished off, a sense of accomplishment. Generally, I get into meetings and somebody might join one of the early meetings and they're like, don't ask me any questions. I haven't had my coffee yet. And I'm like, okay. I'm
Yeah.
on 100 at that point. Like I already gym, like I'm feeling
Mhm.
good. My energy is up.
Mhm.
They roll out of bed. So I feel like it gives me a competitive advantage. And then mentally, I feel like it helps me to be stronger, right? And there's a certain discipline about the gym that I feel transcends in all areas of life. Like if you're disciplined enough to keep a schedule, to get up, to push through the days, even when you don't want to go. And I mean, you're not going to be 100%. Everybody falls off at some point,
Mhm.
but it's the story of life again. You fall off, you get back up, you fall off, you get back up, right? And so I think the gym and therapy goes hand in hand because, like I said, you have that immediate gratification, you have that release, that mind, clearing of it's you versus the iron or you versus the treadmill, whatever is going on that day. But ultimately, when all that dies down, the mind starts back up and all the thoughts start to race, right? And everything's going through your mind. So, how do you put those thoughts at ease? And I think that's where therapy really comes in for me because it's like there's a lot that goes through my mind, right? So, for example, aside being a professional, career wise, I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm active in the community. So, there's a lot that I'm juggling. And then there are times where, and my therapist tells me this all the time, so I'm glad I have the chance to share this. Um, One of my biggest problems, she says, is that I love to solution too quickly. Meaning that if you tell me a problem, I'm already thinking about how we can solve it, even though it's not my problem. You check what I'm saying? So she's like, hey, not every time you have to want to fix something for somebody or solve their situation. A lot of time it's too taxing on you because then you have to give up your time, your resources, your energy to deal with somebody else's. And sometimes they're not even willing to do that work. Right. So even just helping me with that mindset to realize, hey, sometimes you have to take a step back and understand that you can't carry everybody to that destination, right? Because I'm big on team and family. And if somebody's around me, I want to support, I want to push them, I want to encourage them, which not everybody wants that for themselves. And so just having those tough conversations with my therapist where that I can't have with other people, or if I have with them, to your point earlier on, they'll give me from their perspective, or they'll, some people are nice, they mean well, so they'll give you the soft answer, or they'll say what you want to
Mhm.
hear. A lot of times that's not what I need, right? I need the tough conversation. I need to peel it back a layer. And so what I realized that's very similar to therapy and leadership is, in leadership we do something called the five whys, where if we are trying to get to the root of something, it's like peeling back an onion. We'll ask why. And then when you answer, we'll ask why and why, until we get down to where there's, okay, you've really dug deep. And it's similar in therapy where, I may give an answer on the surface, but then the therapist knows how to ask the right question to make me go one level deeper, and then go a level deeper. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, that's it.
Mhm.
And I found the root cause, whereas for years on my own, I haven't been able to find it. So, just bringing it back full circle, like, I think the gym is powerful, the immediate release, the discipline, the clearing your mind. But in the long term, the thoughts will always come back. And you really need to work with a professional to get to the root of it. And then, that way you can lift that burden. And then that allows you to just operate on a higher plane.
Amazing, Kevin, amazing. Because our biopsychosocial health is important. Our physical health doesn't go separate from our mental health, it comes together. And I know people have a struggle because physically you can see if your foot is broken, if you
Mhm.
have a cut, you can see that. People can see it. Other people encourage you and say, go by the doctor. Or I know this specialist, they will encourage you because they can physically see that pain. But mentally, it has been so much of a taboo, and a lot of people mask their emotions. Some people are afraid to speak up, and it's not as rampant as the motivation for physical illnesses. So going to the gym and going to therapy, understanding that your health is both, one doesn't leave each other, and being a wholesome person, you need to exercise, you need to see your therapist, you need to eat well, you need to take care of your body in order to be your best self. So thanks for that. That's beautiful. Kevin, what I do know about you is that you're a service-oriented young man. So tell us, what have you been doing, like personal life, professional life, in the community to help other people, young people, older people, to help them or to bring light in anything with exercise and mental health? Tell us.
Uh, so I do have my foundation, the Kevon Graham Foundation. Part of what I do is try to, the motto is, small deeds, big impact, right? So the resources are limited, but within reason, we do what we can. So we've hosted a basketball camp, a free camp that runs 3 weeks. We've done that for the last 4 years. This year, the organization wasn't the best, so we're going to skip it this year. But other than that, there's a lot of stuff that I partner with my mom with, small donations here and there. There's a lot of parents that, I help with stuff that is, I'll say, on the private side, so I don't share those things.
Mhm.
And then I do partner with like a lot of the schools and do small donations. So even with St. Mary's RC School, give them spikes for the kids. I have an ongoing relationship with Granville Secondary School. That's my alma mater. So I work closely with Daryl Bernard there. Um, just this week, we did something with him for a soccer series they have with the kids. They even invited me for graduation, but the timing was bad to give the commencement speech. But I stay rooted to the community. Just always trying to do what I can. And then from a social media perspective, you know, every day. Well, we're contacts. So every day you see, first thing you see in the morning is something positive or uplifting from me.
Mhm.
So that's how I try to start my day. I'm always trying to put good energy into the world, however small it is, because I always feel that energy comes back to me. So, a lot of the focus is on grassroots community movement, and then just putting good energy out into the atmosphere.
Beautiful. Thank you for this. Thank you for giving back. Thank you for showing up. A lot of the time we gain a lot, we do a lot, we put ourselves out there, we achieve our goals, but it's always so beautiful when we gain and we earn and we have extra that we pour into others. And this is what makes the world a better place. And thank you for being that person. But before you leave, Kevin, tell us if you were to meet a young man, because it's mental health, a young man who is struggling in silence right now, what advice would you give to him?
Um, First advice I would give to him is what my mom always gives to me, which is pray.
Okay.
You don't have to be super religious, but I think more than the concept of prayer itself is just getting your thoughts out, you know?
Mhm.
So I think it's a great way to get your thoughts out. The other thing I would recommend is some form of exercise. So even on the days I don't gym, you'll notice a lot. Like I'll walk, so I'll get out and do trails. Even when I'm home, I'm on the beach, the back roads. I'm just getting out. I'm staying active, and that really helps with just being present, clearing my mind. And then I definitely recommend therapy. Like if you have an opportunity to talk to somebody who's a professional who can help you dig through the challenges and really find what's eating at you, um, that's ultimately that's where you should be. One of the things I've noticed a lot, especially from men, is that we mask a lot of it by taking drugs, right? Whether it's weed, whether you see the amount of young fellas I see smoking these days, and like not just casual smoking, like hard, and some of them have even gone into harder drugs. And a lot of that is just coping mechanisms. But the thing is, when that wears off, you still have the issue to deal with, so work on more long-term issues. Number one, therapy. But number two, the gym, just an active lifestyle. I think that does wonders because when you look better, you feel better. And then it also develops confidence that helps you, right? So working through your problems with a therapist is one, but an active lifestyle that kind of, because the physical is very important. Like I want to say this nicely. There's times I go, like if I'm at head office, right? There's times I may put on a little tighter polo because when I step in that boardroom,
Biceps,
I have,
biceps.
you have to let them know who the alpha in the room is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but you can't do it if you know. What I mean? So, but they're like you put on a certain outfit and the fit is proper. Like so you
Mhm.
step into that room knowing, hey, I've already practiced, I've prepared, and I look the part. I'm gonna crush this today. So there's a lot that the physical ties into with the work that you're doing, mentally with a therapist. So I would say speak to a therapist. If you don't have that opportunity and you're somebody who's fortunate like me to have a parent or close friend that you could have those conversations with, share what you can within reason. I still feel there's certain things that you hold on to just because with life you just never know with people. And so I'm always a little hesitant there. And then yeah, man, just kind of develop an active lifestyle. Understand that you get one body, one life. And I see people my age who are in wheelchairs or have certain diseases. Some of it is hereditary, but a lot of it is just lifestyle. So if you can stay active and take care of yourself, and then most importantly, take care of your mind, you can live a very long, fulfilled life.
Yeah, certainly. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Do have a lovely day and we'll stay in touch.
All right, thanks for having me.